So there was a question that came in the other day, and what she was asking, she felt like if a person is avoidant, and the stereotypical answer you get, if a person's avoidant, just leave them. And, a brilliant question this woman was asking. She was saying that if a person is avoidant and the advice is to just leave them, well, wouldn't someone like that need a little patience? Wouldn't someone like that need a little support? And, of course, like there are times when we need to leave, but how do we know where the line is, right? Like, how do we know how much to lean in, how much patience to give, how much support to give someone before we decide that they're just not for us? And so, what Jamie Stearns is sharing here is I feel like if they're avoidant and not showing up and we are trying to fix them, then we're just avoidant of our own work. Absolutely. So, I want to acknowledge, Jamie, that you are absolutely correct in that. And I think like a three strike rule is not as a solid rule that applies to everything, but like think about like if I lean in 3 times and nothing changes, okay, then I can say they're just not ready and it's time to walk away. Right? But the nature of relationships is so nuanced. And someone who is avoidant, like I think we tend to think about avoidance when I don't even like calling them avoidance, right? Because it's so harsh. And I see the comments on social media. I see the way people talk about it. They're like, "Those damn avoidants are just so toxic." And I mean, honestly, anxious people can be just as toxic. When you think about the lack of agency and freedom that anxious people try to deprive people of, it's super toxic, right? Like we don't want to give people the freedom to choose. We don't want to give them the space to think. Like anxious people can be super toxic as well. But the way people talk about avoidance is like they're just these shallow, disconnected, heartless people who just don't care. And like what's actually happening for an avoidant person is this is someone who has been so hurt in their intimate interactions that they're just going to withdraw. And yes, there is a degree to which they are so wounded that they need to do some personal work before they're ready for a relationship. But you've got to understand this. If you meet an avoidant person, and when I say like, I'm not talking about extreme avoidant, I'm talking about somebody who has avoidant tendencies, right? Somebody whose history, whether with their parents or their past relationships, has been deeply painful for them. And so they're a little trepidatious when they start engaging romantically or intimately with someone. When you meet someone like this and they don't show up exactly the way you want them to in terms of being open, being available, sharing their feelings and all the stuff, right? If they don't show up exactly how you want them to, and then you go, "Oh, they're just avoidant." And without communication, without leaning in, without an invitation, you just withdraw, they're not going to chase you. And in your mind, being the anxious person, you're going to think that, "Oh, well, if they wanted to, they would have. And they're just not available. And that's why they didn't do it." But you've got to understand what's happening on their side. On their side, they're going, "Here's another person I'm not good enough for. Here's another person who rejected me. I wasn't enough of what they needed, and now they rejected me." And that person, because reaching out is so painful for them, they're just going to isolate more. And I think we underestimate the value of having a vulnerable conversation with them and giving them clear direction on how they can show up in the relationship. I'm just going to keep using this example that I used earlier today because it's such a great one and it's so practical. But like maybe here's an avoidant person, right? They don't text a lot. They don't call a lot. They're not like super like gushy about the relationship because when they've been that way in the past, it didn't go well for them. And so they're a little shy. They're a little hesitant. And then what happens is when they, when, what was I going to say here? What happens is when you give them an opportunity to step in and you let them know it's safe. And what I mean by letting them know it's safe is you let them know, I want you to do this, right? So please text me every morning because I want to hear from you. Now you're letting them know texting you every morning is not too much. You're not gonna get their text every morning and go, oh my God, this person, like, why won't they leave me alone? Like, I saw them 2 days ago. Why are like, right? You're letting them know it's safe to interact. You're letting them know it's welcome. You're letting them know it's invited. And you're giving them clear direction on exactly how they can do it. What this person is going to feel is, okay, I know what this person wants from me. I know it's safe to interact. And this is something like I can easily do to make them happy. So to speak into what Jamie Stearns is saying, I think, yes, absolutely, trying to change someone or fix someone can be avoiding your own work. It often is avoiding your own work. Sometimes your work is to walk away and let go. But work can be equal on the other side. If you're so afraid of rejection or vulnerability that you walk away without approaching that vulnerable conversation first, that's also avoiding your work. And the Buddha, if anybody studied Buddhism, one of the biggest principles in Buddhism is the middle way. And I've found this to just be such a universally applicable principle, the middle way. Everybody's operating on the extremes, right? Oh my God, I lean in and I obsess about somebody and I chase them and I push them, or I walk away without giving them a chance. Well, what about the middle way? What about being in that gray area for a little while where it's a little uncomfortable and you've got to be vulnerable and you've got to talk about some difficult stuff and you've got to ask for things and you've got to be patient and see if they're willing to give you what you're asking for. And you've got to use your discernment and you've got to feel into it and ask, is this person respecting me? Are they honoring me? Are they honoring my time? Are they honoring my energy? And you can't just have a quick answer that you can figure out in 5 minutes. That's the middle way. And if you're willing to live in that middle place, that gray area, you're willing to maturely be with your own emotions and communicate about them, you're willing to approach this relationship in a mature and empowered way, before too long, it might be a month, it might be a couple of months, but before too long, you will be crystal clear on how much potential this relationship has. And you will either move into it, boom, and be secure moving into it, or you will move out of it and be secure moving out of it. And so the answer isn't lean in and beg and ask and push, right? But the answer also isn't just walk away. The answer is to be in this nuanced place of security and power and clarity, and to be a little uncomfortable for a while. So I thought what you brought up, Jamie, was an excellent thing to address. And, again, the answer is in the middle, right? We can never find what we're looking for on one extreme or the other. We find it in the middle.